assistance with multiple resources, including victim assistance and the evidence response team. The Caudle Lab, which is the location of the incident, will be closed until further notice as evidence is being processed. We want to ensure that we gather every piece of evidence to determine exactly what happened here today and why it happened.
Stage for law enforcement, possible active shooter on campus.
We have learned that this was a fatal shooting. One faculty member has died.
This loss is devastating. The shooting damages the trust and safety that we so often take for granted.
We saw that bullet hole in a window here.
Tylee Chi, this is the suspect right here.
We're currently the only media news crew that is capturing this right now.
This is going to be something that'll stick with these students forever.
I hope to fill in the blanks as to a motive for this type of tragedy right here on one of our beloved university campuses.
A terrifying and tragic day on the campus of UNC Chapel Hill, just 6 days into the new semester.
A faculty member is dead and a suspect is in custody after a shooting on campus. Thank you for joining us. I'm Ashley Rowe.
And I'm Gerald Owens. We just learned within the past hour that no one else on campus was injured.
The FBI is now on campus helping in this investigation. All classes and campus events are canceled for tomorrow. We have live team coverage of this major story.
But first, let's take a look at the timeline of when all this unfolded throughout the day. It has been more than 6 hours now since the first alert went out to students and staff. University police were notified of shots fired in Caudle Laboratories just after 1 p.m. The suspect was taken into custody around 2:30.
The campus was locked down for nearly 2 more hours and was lifted around 4:15. We begin our coverage with WRAL's Dan Haggerty, who is live near Caudle Laboratories, where this all started.
Dan, bring us up to speed on what you're seeing on campus at this hour.
Investigators keep poking their heads out of the lab building behind us, guys, and they've moved us back several different times. But as you stated, this is exactly where it all started. We will zoom back. Bear with us as we kind of move through the foliage here, but we're paying attention to the window that's lit up back behind us, and you might notice a flash every couple of minutes because investigators are in there right now taking pictures. You should also be able to notice the bullet hole in that glass. Investigators have been outside as well looking for any type of bullet casing that might have been left in the area. I'm told that the FBI is going to be here or they're going to come outside in a moment with a scanning device, and what that does is it maps every square inch of the area that they have roped off, and it creates a digital picture that they're able to use in this investigation as they try and piece more of this together. We were able to get some answers, though, during a news conference a little earlier today. WRAL's Shelley Jackson was there asking questions at that news conference and joins us with the latest and what we have learned from investigators so far. Shelley.
Well, Dan, Chancellor Guskowitz took to the lectern and said that it was a tragic day for the campus community. He called the loss of the faculty member a devastating loss, one that damages trust and safety in the campus community. Now, this is how it all went down. 911 calls of shots fired came in around 1 o'clock at the Caudle Lab. When police arrived, they say they found the faculty member had been shot. The name of that faculty member is being withheld while family is being notified. The suspect was found and taken into custody around 2:30, and the all clear was given around 4:15. They waited a little bit there to make sure that they had the right man in custody. Now, police have not formally named the suspect because he has not been charged formally just yet.
To actually have the suspect in custody, it gives us an opportunity to figure out the why and even the how, and also helps us to uncover a motive and really just why this happened today. Why today? Why at all? We are looking for a firearm. It is too early to determine if the firearm was legally obtained, and not prepared at this time to say exactly what kind of weapon it was.
So what we still don't know right now is, did the suspect and the victim know each other? We also don't know if the suspect had any previous disciplinary history here at UNC. Classes and campus events for today and for tomorrow have been canceled, and the university is providing support for students, faculty, and staff. Dan?
Shelley, thank you. And clearly that support is going to be needed. While we have a lot of questions that haven't been answered yet about the motive, the why to all of this, it is pretty easy to tell that the shock on this campus is palpable. Students are a bit overwhelmed. Again, we are just 6 days into the school year, and they are faced with the scariest possible thing that we are faced with today when it comes to our college campuses, our public events, anything that might have the threat of a gunman. For some of that reaction, our Matt Tallhelm has been speaking with students today. Matt, getting a lot of different reaction. A lot of frightened students here on the campus of UNC and parents at home wondering what this is all about.
Yeah, and Dan, we saw some of those parents actually come here to campus. I talked to some parents that came from Clayton. They drove in. They didn't want to talk on camera because they were just so worried about their kids. They had 2 kids in one of these lab buildings right here, but they drove in from Clayton because they wanted to be here and they were waiting for them to safely come out of here. This investigation, though, is very much underway. We are on the other side of Cotto Laboratories from where you are, and you can see an FBI evidence response team is here. They have taped off even further down on this area. We've seen in the last half hour or so even more FBI technicians arriving here. I want to show you some video from the search going on outside of this building. So they're doing all that investigation inside, also searching outside. Canine units going around the building. We saw some state troopers that were searching in the bushes and the trees around here as they try to find a weapon. No weapon has been recovered in this, so they're searching all around here to see what happened. This is the same building where just hours ago students sheltered in place. They were hiding under chairs, under desks to make sure they were safe during this lockdown. Take a listen to what 2 of those students told me as they came out of here when police let them out of here to safety.
We heard loud noise, and so we all kind of had to run and quick get against the wall. That was very scary. Obviously, we didn't know what was going on.
I think it's sobering. It's a really strong reminder that that there are certain issues that we might think it won't happen to us, but they can and they will.
Yeah, those students were in some of these very close-in buildings to Cotto Laboratories here, so they had to be let out by police. The police went room by room through this building to escort them out of here, some of them walking out with their hands up to show that they were not a threat, that they were not going to reach for any kind of weapon. Now, I also was able to talk to a UNC grad student who was in a machine learning program with the suspect that has now been arrested. He told me a little bit about this student. He was in a project group with him 1 year ago, right around this time last year. Listen to what Aiden Scott said about this student who is now believed to have been the shooter.
It's kind of hard for me to cope with all of this because I would have never guessed that he would be the kind of person who could possibly be capable of this kind of thing.
Why is that?
When I was in meetings with him, he was always very quiet, English second language clearly, because I think he was from China or somewhere. And every single time that he talked to me, he seemed very nice.
Very nice, quiet, normal student is what that classmate described him as from his project group that he worked with him at. But once again, this investigation is very much an active scene here. Police are just on the other side of that building, the FBI, with their trucks here as they begin to look for what happened inside there, Dan.
All right, Matt, thank you so much. And again, that search for the weapon continues. We will continue to be out here as well and collect as much information as we can for you. And yes, there's still this appetite to find out the motive, but when you really think about it, what answers will we get that would make any sense of any of this? Yeah. We still have classes canceled for tomorrow for the people here at UNC, but I think about them. I think about the victims here, the people on this campus, and what their recovery is going to be like to move on and start to regain their college experience as early as this week, guys.
You know, active shooter training was rolled out on campus a year ago. Little did they know they would need it so soon. Thanks, Dan.
Let's get over to Mark in the Live Center.
Ashley, the suspect in this case who was taken into custody is this man right here, Tylay Chi. He's a grad student at UNC Chapel Hill, arrested a short time after the shooting there, about a mile north of UNC Chapel Hill's campus. We never report scanner traffic as confirmed information, but what the scanners do for us here, it helps give us some information on where police are at, where their heads are at when they're arriving at some of these scenes, and then we can start asking some questions. On your screen, Broadcastify, Orange County EMS. This is what some of the radio traffic indicated. Initially, when they arrived, they were searching for a 9mm handgun. The gunshot victim was found in room 159 there in the building. That's where they were focusing their attention. And also, when emergency responders arrived, the victim was found not breathing, no pulse, already dead. A lot of folks were saying, why are the EMS not transporting anybody? Why is no one going to the hospital? Well, in this case here today, there was no need for that. No one else was hurt. It was just the one victim, that faculty member, shot and killed, and now a suspect in custody. The charges still being processed. We expect all of that to happen later this evening. Back to you.
Okay, Mark, thank you. You know, as we learn more about the experience on campus, these students and staff members locked down for over 3 hours in their classrooms. You can only imagine what's going through their mind as they're trying to cobble together information. Probably they're on their phones trying to text each other on campus. And we are learning more about those emotions that you know are going to stay with them for days, months, and years.
Definitely on their phones. We know that. Keenan Willer has been talking to students on campus, and you spoke to a faculty member. He's live near the Dean Smith Center. I imagine the faculty members just as shocked as the students.
Yeah, really just one more story from this entire, obviously, pageant collection of the reactions from campus today, the people who lived through this experience. And after so many hours of just complete silence and strangeness, UNC's campus is coming back to life. I mean, we've seen people walking, taking their kids out in the stroller, hear people playing pickleball just right there, and cars going back and forth that were not on the roads for so long today. But obviously, it was what it was here on campus, completely shut down for so long until this moment. Sky 5 was overhead when finally that lockdown did come to an end. Students and faculty slowly being let out of those buildings where they had been stuck inside, wondering what was going to happen and really what was taking place on their campus for more than 3 hours. Now, in one of those classrooms, we spoke with a professor who had been presenting a seminar when he got the emergency alert on his phone. He says while he and his students were sheltering in place, he says other students were knocking on their door and trying to get into their classroom. Unfortunately, though, they could not let them in because of the awareness and active shooter training that students and faculty have gone through, and also some of the lived experience that his students have had learning these protocols even in high school. This generation of students picking up these potentially life-saving skills during their time in this climate to be a student. The professor tells us, though, what these students went through today in the classroom is something that's certainly going to stay with them.
This is going to really have a significant impact on the psychology of the students here. I mean, we just started this, and now we had to go through this ordeal where we felt really unsafe. And I think it's going to be harder going forward.
And part of that generational new normal, the professor says one of the things that stood out to him during this moment of crisis was the way that his students, because of what they've been trained to do as students in this moment, they jumped into the safety mode, turning off the lights, getting down. They knew exactly what to do in this situation. It was something that really resonated with him, obviously, as somebody who was not part of that generation, to sort of look at what students are getting acclimated to and the reality that they face in the classroom these days.
Keenan, as we've seen in the past, incidents like this tend to galvanize the student body, and I'm sure we're going to see that on the UNC campus after, we get days and weeks down the road and they've had a chance to digest all this. Thank you, Keenan.
We have much more from UNC Chapel Hill. Our crews are at the scene. More on that after the break. And some big news in the tropics. Kat.
Tropical storm Idalia is set to rapidly intensify over the next 36 hours into a major hurricane. I'll have the track and when North Carolina will see impacts coming up.
Our cameras were rolling, Gerald, when the student, a person of interest, was arrested by authorities. That happening mid-afternoon while, so many students were in lockdown on campus.
Yeah, WR's Aaron Thomas is actually there where the Second-year PhD student Tyler Che, we confirmed through sources, was arrested. You were there as it happened, Aaron.
We were, and it was certainly a sight to see with Gerald and Ashley. You can see now that things are calm here on Williams Circle. It's a residential area. We've seen parents walking, taking an evening stroll with their child. We've even seen people walk their dog. But certainly a frightening scene to see this investigation play out. I want to take you to video of the moment that WRAL captured, the exclusive moment that this suspect was taken into custody. You have the Chapel Hill police cruiser. Doesn't appear that this suspect is being defensive with officers. Officers are not being defensive with him. We've been speaking with several neighbors asking if Tyler Che lives around here, and many of them tell us that he's not a familiar face. In fact, the home that I'm standing behind, we're told that it was a homeowner here that called 911 after noticing that person of interest was in her backyard. As a result, we did see investigators. They focused much of their attention at this home. There was crime scene tape. They even had canines that were searching much of the perimeter. Certainly a lot of questions that we have. There are no formal charges that have been filed at this point. We want to know what brought him out here in the first place. We are about a mile and a half away from UNC's campus. That weapon that he's accused of using has still not been recovered. We also want to know, were there any other places on campus that Tyler Che tried to enter when all of this happened. But as you see the moment of peace here, a lot of neighbors are talking amongst one another about how something like this could happen in their neighborhood.
We have a lot to learn about this case. Aaron Thomas, live in Chapel Hill. Thank you.
I'm Mark Boyle in the WRAL Live Center. Students got their phones and started recording outside buildings when all of this was unfolding this afternoon. Take a look at your screen. Noelle Harris, a student there in the journalism building nearby, she recorded these students actually jumping outside of the building, outside the windows to safety when those alerts started coming out. The school told kids to lock down, faculty to lock down, but these obviously felt it was safest to get out of the way and escape. Just some really troubling video there to see. Coming up tonight on Fox 50 at 10 o'clock and WRAL News at 11, you will hear from Noelle Harris, the young lady who shot that video. You're going to hear what she saw and how she heard about this shooting in the first place. And also, she used something that was different than what I would use in school. She listened to apps, 911 apps, when you could hear the radio communication. That's how she says she was getting a lot of her details this afternoon. Back to you.
Very resourceful.
I've heard that from a lot of students.
Yeah. Thank you, Mark. Another big story we're following today. A lot of interest in the tropics tonight with a storm in the Gulf tracking this way.
Meteorologist Kat Campbell is in the WRAL Severe Weather Center with the latest information on Tropical Storm Idalia. Kat, this is about to become a hurricane.
It is. It's about to become a major hurricane. It is going to rapidly intensify in the eastern Gulf of Mexico. And we did get an update from the National Hurricane Center. They're going to be issuing intermediate advisories. So we'll have another advisory at 8 o'clock. We'll watch to see if it's a hurricane by then. Just 5 miles per hour below that threshold right now. It's right on the western tip of Cuba, continuing to move to the north at about 8 miles per hour. And then it begins to move into this record warm water in the eastern Gulf of Mexico, opening the door for rapid intensification into a Category 3 major hurricane before it makes landfall in the Big Bend area of Florida. This would be early Wednesday morning, continuing to travel to the northeast, likely close to the North Carolina coast. It could move ashore or it may stay just offshore. Regardless, likely to be around a tropical storm at that time. And then it continues to head to the east, slowing down. So we may see some rough surf lasting into the holiday weekend, but we're not likely to see the rainfall lasting into the holiday weekend. Futurecast showing the European model, specifically the system moving on shore in Florida as we get into Wednesday morning. For us, we may begin to see some of these initial rain bands move in by Wednesday afternoon at the coast, in the evening here locally, with the heaviest rain coming late Wednesday night into the first half of the day on Thursday. That would also be when we see the strongest winds at the coast, would be early in the day on Thursday. That's where there's likely to be the tropical storm force winds, but we could see some gusts 30 to 35 miles per hour here locally as well. Right now, we do have a stalled front nearby, and that brings a chance for a few hit-or-miss storms tonight and during the day tomorrow. But Wednesday and Thursday's rain chances connected to Idalia. Once we get to the holiday weekend, some drier weather on the way, and then temperatures trend up to 93 by Labor Day. Ashley and Gerald.
Okay, Kat, thank you.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, what happened at UNC Chapel Hill didn't just affect the campus, it affected areas outside of the campus,
including students on their first day back at school. More on that after the break. For Chapel Hill Carrboro students, today was the first day at school, a first day they are remembering for all the wrong reasons.
Students and teachers spent hours stuck inside the building as parents waited anxiously outside with school buildings and offices on secure status. WRAL's Eric Miller went to a local elementary school and has the anxiety and fear that many parents experience today.
Outside Glenwood Elementary, waves and smiles on the first day of school.
I made 2 new friends. Really? Yes, really.
But behind those smiles, relief. Parents like Deirdre McIntyre dealing with an anxiety these young faces haven't known.
I just gave them a hug and just asked how their day went because we don't know what they were informed of, and I don't want to, make them fearful of coming to school.
Chapel Hill Carrboro schools were under secure status for nearly 4 hours as the active shooter situation played out at UNC. Students and teachers were sealed inside buildings, and outside, lines of anxious parents stretched for blocks.
It makes you nervous. It's a little scary and creepy at the same time. You just want to go get your child, and you really can't. You're just helpless, actually.
Sunitha Bullock was there to pick up her granddaughter.
Her name is Nina.
It wasn't just Nina's first day of school, it was her first day of school ever. For Deirdre McIntyre and her 2 kids, it's drama that'll be dealt with over the dinner table, trying to make innocent ears understand a harsh reality.
Unfortunately, it's just something we have to think about almost every school year, but we'll talk about it over dinner and see how they feel and just also ensure them that they were safe and in good hands.
In Chapel Hill, Eric Miller, WRAL News.
It's refreshing to see that little girl is just concerned about a couple of friends she made today and not anything else that may have happened around her.
She was very sweet. It was nice to hear her talk.
Yeah, let's hope the rest of them had the same kind of day. Thank you for making WRAL your choice for local news.
Look for more live team coverage on today's frightening incident, unfortunately fatal incident at UNC Chapel Hill. Our team coverage continues at 10 and 11 on Fox 50 and WRAL. Have a great night.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air channel 34 and Spectrum channel 1257.